Hey guys, hope everything's going well. You guys know the drill. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and comment down below. Follow me on Instagram at AIH_sports. And also feel free to message me. It may take a little bit of time for me to get back to you. Don't take any offense to it. I'm just going to be swamped the coming months, and especially the next few weeks. Anyways, also, I'm not going to be doing as many videos. I've had the luxury of taking some time off, so I've had time for some of these videos. Anyways, I wanted to talk today regarding the high-end sports card market. This is a market that I don't play in. However, I like to analyze data, as you guys know. And what I like looking at Goldin auctions, for instance, is it mainly caters towards the high-end individual, high-end market. And I believe the minute we start seeing cracks within the high end, and I'm not talking about this correction that we saw, for instance, in the Michael Jordan cards, where those cards just crash in half, the PSA 10, where the PSA 10 went from, over $700,000 to, I think the last auction at Goldin was $368,000, something around there. I'm not talking about those type of correction. I'm talking about cards that you really don't see, but you do see a few sales here and there. And yeah, it's not like the population size of the Michael Jordan Fleer 84 card where there's 300 cards. We're talking about cards with much less population size. And a few cards that I looked into over the past few years, I just wanted to talk about, and also what I'll be looking for in the coming months, and you could say years, just to try to see where the cracks are coming. Okay, the 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle 311 PSA 7 card. It sold on PWCC, their own website now. Sold at $288,000. I think this was for, September, if I had to take a guess. It's the high-end market that they're catering towards. And in Goldin auctions in February of 2018, it sold for $111,000. Okay, so I'm looking at, for instance, places like Goldin, and also like the high-end auction sites too, like the PWCCs as well. So you could see that it almost threefolded. It went up threefold within a few years. And you could say that, okay, that is a sizable return. It 3x'd. It almost 3x'd. Or we could say 2.5 times it went higher. And if you look at maybe the S&P, I don't think the S&P went up. Yeah, you could say it went up 2.5 times. So you could say, okay, that's kind of in line with the S&P. I would say the Mantle PSA 7 card went slightly higher than the S&P. But still, it's had a decent return. And those are the guys playing at the high end of the curve. And now there's this 1954 Hank Aaron number 128 card. In 2018, I saw one auction. It sold for $168,000. And then on PWCC, that card sold for $504,000. I think it was maybe the September auction. So a few things about these numbers. For the latest PWCC numbers, since they're not on eBay, I don't believe the PSA website, when you're trying to find the APR or the cost of the sales, it's not there. You have to actually log on to the PWCC marketplace to find the actual sales. Now, some people say, I don't trust PWCC, etc., etc., etc. And I understand some people may not like them, but that's what the price was sold at. And yes, that was a decent return from 2018 to right now. Now, I'm looking at this just from a numbers perspective. Okay, I'm looking at, okay, this Hank Aaron card went above in terms of the rate of return than the S&P 500. And on top of it, I want to see in the auctions in the coming months, and you could say even years, I want to see, is there a steady price appreciation in these cards? And if you don't see a steady appreciation, you want to maybe look at, okay, is this happening within only these cards, or is it happening within a variety of cards? I looked at these two cards, for instance, and I'm going to look at other cards in the coming months because these are staples to this hobby. Mantle and Aaron. This is what the hobby likes collecting, especially in the high end. Maybe the new people to this hobby, they may not be interested. They rather would be putting their money in Brady because they've seen Brady. But at the same time, these are two legends, and it would make sense why people would continue to pour money in them, even though that they're no longer here. And I did see, I believe, for Hank Aaron, his auction went for about $618,000. So I'm looking at that. I think this was earlier this year, so it may have actually decreased to $504,000. But I'm just going to use the latest price of $504,000. Now, because there isn't too much volume, there could be volatility in these cards, but there are a few things that I'm closely monitoring, and I've talked about this in previous videos, and it's regarding the interest rates. And a lot of people, they don't look at that. They try to analyze the markets in their own way. That's fine. I come from my hobby perspective, I come from a trading background. So I just like looking at these type of trends that other people may not. I look at money supply, I look at interest rates, I look at what the Federal Reserve's doing, and my belief, just based on my research, the higher the interest rates go, you're reaching more towards positive inflation, or you're reaching towards positive real rates, and positive real rates, in my opinion, are not good for collectibles, at least in the short term. And for the appreciation of cards, you want to see negative real rates. And yes, we have negative real rates now, but if they gradually increase interest rates to try to curb off the inflation, you're moving towards positive real interest rates. And I've been looking at the 30-day Fed funds futures, which traders, sophisticated traders, they try to figure out, okay, when the Federal Reserve is going to be raising interest rates. And to play in this market, I believe it's millions of dollars to bet on these interest rates, these short-term interest rates. So it's not a common Joe that has the ability to play in this market. They use all sorts of these models to try to figure out when they're going to raise interest rates. And earlier this year, they were saying that they're going to start raising rates in October. Now it looks like it's going to be sometime in midsummer, potentially even as early as July. They're going to raise the interest rates. And then they're looking for another rate hike of another 25 basis points, probably in November, December. And by January or February of 2023, you're looking at probably another rate hike. So it's going to be about 3 rate hikes within a year and a half, less than a year and a half. And I'm not too worried, in terms of price, if they raise the rates maybe 25 basis points. But if the word comes out, the Federal Reserve is going to aggressively raise interest rates over the next year and a half because of the inflation, because of the supply chain breakdown, I want to definitely play a close eye on these high-end cards, these staples, of these markets, these safe cards that people call. I want to see, are those card prices taking a huge dip, or are they going to be even steadily rising while interest rates go up? And I told you in 2017, I think Powell was the Fed chairman at that time, and you had Trump as president. They were raising interest rates really aggressively. And I believe they raised interest rates about 3 times in 2017. And I showed you on the PWCC graph that the interest rates went down. I mean, the interest rates went up, yes. And also the sports card market, especially the high end, it started to go down. And that may have been sophisticated investors being like, hey, they're raising rates. Why would I buy it now when the cost of financing is way too high? And some other people may be like, hey, you're starting to see the rates trying to be more positive than negative. Why would I buy now? Why doesn't it just stabilize and then I'll buy later, maybe when they decide to lower rates? And what I noticed is that card prices starting to get crazy. I saw in 2018 while they were decreasing interest rates. I saw Jeter cards because Derek Jeter was going to be a Hall of Famer in 2020. I started seeing people with 0 reviews putting a PSA 8 card at the time, and people were bidding ridiculous amounts of money where you could have bought that card for maybe $300, I think in the early fall. And then it started going up to over $600, $700. I don't remember the exact price, but this is when they're starting to decrease interest rates because Trump didn't like it. So in my opinion, Powell wanted to decrease interest rates at that time. So in my opinion, that was a move towards more interest rates going negative. So that was beneficial for the collectible industry. Now, that's my interpretation. I could be wrong on that. There could have been another reason where people our age, who are in the 35 to 45 age bracket, they just started to do what they did as kids because they were starting to make more money. That could have been another reason. It could have been a cyclical thing as well. Add in the fact that rates were going down, the cost of financing was going down. So what, in my opinion, to track some of these cards going lower in the coming year or years, it's good to track some of these high-end cards, even if they don't have too much liquidity in them, to see where the price is going. And you don't need to look at specifically a Mickey Mantle 1952 number 311 or a 1954 Hank Aaron card. You could look at other players as well. And you could also monitor what the Federal Reserve is doing and see, is this higher cost of financing having anything to deal with these cards going higher or lower? And I know some people may say, hey, who cares about the Federal Reserve? However, I've done research about rates going aggressively higher, and I've seen more times than not the prices of the cards going down. I know no one really talks about it here on YouTube. Some people maybe outside of YouTube understand that, but I don't think this topic is being discussed. And I showed data in 1994. I don't have the chart in front of me right now, but they were starting to raise interest rates aggressively in about 93, 94. The bond market, I remember, was getting smoked. I remember hearing older traders talking about that. And I'm just thinking, okay, I'm going to put this in the back of my head and see how price action reacts to this in the coming, years. And I believe that I will be correct about my assessment, but we shall see. I like pattern. I looking at patterns, and I want to see, okay, is the market going to behave in the same way as it did back then. And it's going to be interesting. I'm going to be tracking some more cards out there of some of these old-time guys. I know Personal Finance Dad was looking at some vintage cards, and he was seeing a decrease in some of the prices since I think February as well. But I want to check some of these cards that are just this main staples of the hobby and that have been. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Comment down below, guys. Thanks. Bye.